Hello everyone, this is Abhay Sharma and welcome to Thinking Penguin. In this tutorial, I'm going to talk about data conversion. In previous tutorial, I have talked about data types. If you haven't watched it, then watch it first, then this tutorial will make a lot of sense. Alright, so data conversion is basically converting one data type to another. There are some scripting involved in this tutorial, but you don't have to pay attention to this because we are not ready for this yet. But I'm doing this just for demonstration. So we'll start with integers and we'll convert it into float, boolean and string. So I'm gonna duplicate this node by hitting the shift plus D key. Now let's convert it into float. Create our debug node. So I'm just going to connect it and it connects easily into float. Watch what happened again in debug output. 0.0 changed to 0. Basically we lost precision because integers don't have precision. Now let's convert it into boolean. You can see animation nodes does not let me convert into boolean, which makes sense. You don't want to insert any integer value into boolean because it does not know how to convert it except 0 and 1. That's all what a boolean can understand. So what can we do? Well, we can force it by some custom nodes, and that brings us to the point where we can see how easy it is to extend animation nodes. But honestly, it is scary for new users, so I would suggest you completely ignore that if you find it difficult because it's not important right now. I'm doing this just for demo. So extendability, that is one of my favorite features in animation nodes. So I'm going to create a script node and generate a script file. Change the layout to text editor and select our script file. First I'm going to create an integer input and a boolean output. Then in the script editor, I will convert the boolean into integer using a simple Python script. It's called casting in terms of programming. Now I'll create the real output node by choosing the invoke subprogram. It's same as, like when you work in your 3D and you do modeling, you texturing, and you do lighting, and then you hit the render button and you'll get the final image. Well, the same idea applies here. We add input and output and we do our scripting and then we invoke subprogram. So I'm going to insert it here. And now if I change the integer value to 0, you can see the boolean output changes to false. Everything else is true. I can force this value to be only 0 or 1 to safeguard our node, but you get the idea. Let's move on to the strings. And it's easily convertible. Animation nodes automatically insert a conversion node. If I open this, you can see what's happening. By the way, notice this input red color. It means it can accept any kind of data type as input. You can interpret it as global input. If I change the integer value, you can see it's translating into string values. So we are done with integers. Let's move on to floats. First, let's convert it into integer, and it's easily convertible. But we lose precision. You can see we lose all the numbers after decimal point. It's called data truncation. So let's convert it into boolean. Well, it's restricted in animation nodes, but we can convert it as we did it with integers. So I'm going to replace integers to float values as input. Create our invoke node and connect it with float to float and boolean to boolean. Now I'll just replace this integer to float in a script editor and it should work. And it is working, but ask yourself why the hell you need to convert float values into boolean. I don't know, but it's there if you need it. Maybe you want to check for a specific value to activate certain functions. Let's say I want this boolean to be true if I change the float to a specific value like 12.5. So I can write a simple condition in script editor. If float is equals 12.5. By the way, this equals operator sounds ridiculous, but actually it's a comparison operator. We'll talk about Boolean operations in future tutorials, so don't worry about that. So if float equals 12.5, Boolean equals true, otherwise Boolean equals false. Now if I change the value to 12.5, Boolean changes to true. Any value other than 12.5 will make it false. Let's convert it into string, and it is easily convertible. You don't have to do anything. Precision seems to be better with strings. Okay, let's move on to Boolean. Booleans are easily convertible to all data types. Boolean to integer, let's see Boolean to float. Notice this conversion node. It converts the Boolean value into integer first. You can say it by its input color code. Okay, let's move on to last data type, string. Let's try to convert it into integer. It won't let us because a string can be a numeral, alphabet, or special symbol. But let's force it. So I'm going to create a string input. I forgot to change the output type, so let's change it to integer. And in the script editor, I will cast the string into integer. You can see it's changed. So you can convert a string into integer as long as you enter any integer value. Notice once I enter a decimal point, it breaks because then it's a float value, not an integer. Let's convert it into float. And it's easily convertible. Now let's convert it into Boolean. Animation nodes won't let us convert, so we're gonna force it. I'm gonna change the output to Boolean and let's connect it. By default it says true, which does not make any sense. Let's say I want to make my boolean to be true, which makes a particular node tree to be activated when I enter a text OK in string field. So I'll do some if else condition here in the script editor. If string equals OK, boolean equals true, else boolean equals false. Now you can see our boolean value has changed to true. If I change it to something else, it changes to false. Alright guys, I hope you liked this tutorial. If you liked it, then please subscribe, comment and share. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.